Welcome to Autoblog Garage, and today we are taking a look at the Acura Integra Type S. This is the Acura version of the Honda Civic Type R, and just like the Type R, it looks far more aggressive, and it is more aggressive underneath too, and we'll get to that shortly. But we want to start with an overview of the exterior, and one of the unique aspects of the Integra Type S is quite literally the front end of it. Not a single body panel here is shared with any other Integra. All of the grills have been enlarged and they're fully opened up, and this is all to provide better airflow and cooling for the engine. The aluminum hood also has a fully functional vent, and everything is wider. It's a couple inches wider, in fact, and that's to accommodate the wider track and the wider wheels and tires. Like other Integras, this also has the logo embossed in the bumper, which is a nice throwback to vintage Integras. Of course, most of the width comes from these big fender flares. These are molded into the sheet metal up here, and for the back, because of it being a unibody car, not being able to change the sheet metal too drastically for the assembly line, in the back, they're add-on plastic pieces. You'll also find Type S badging on the fenders. And all of this provides extremely aggressive front end on the Type S. This particular Integra Type S is fitted with 19-inch wheels in a bronze metallic finish, and it stands out quite well against this metallic blue. They're wrapped in 265mm wide Michelin Pilot Sport S tires, and they're the same compound and size as what you'll find on a Civic Type R. Just like the Type R also are the large Brembo brakes finished in bright red metallic, which also contrasts nicely with all the colors on this car. Now, coming around toward the back, you can see that it's got deep side skirts, and of course the fender flare extensions on the side. All blends nicely into the very aggressive diffuser, and that brings us to one of the signature features of the Type S as well as the Type R, the triple tip exhaust at the back. This sounds especially good, in part due to the active valve in it. That means that in normal mode it's fairly quiet, and when you want to be maybe a little bit obnoxious, you can open that up in Sport Plus mode. It's much louder and adds a bunch of pops and bangs. It's quite fun. This also has a carbon fiber spoiler, and like other Integras, it is a hatchback, and it's got a fairly high opening, which is reminiscent of old Integras and looks nice, but does add a bit of a high liftover. And that caps off a very stylish hatchback. The aggressive nature of the Integra Type S is obvious from the outside, but it also continues to the inside. So let's take a look. One of the first things that you'll notice when you hop inside the Integra Type S is the shifter. It's a manual, and that's the only transmission available in this car, just like the Civic Type R. This one comes with just the standard aluminum shifter with leather wrapping, but you can get a solid titanium shifter if you'd like. So you'll find some similarities to the other Integras and also the Civic on which it's based. For instance, the vents, while they're not full width like in the Civic, they are roughly the same kind of function and form. Same with the slightly larger than 9-inch touchscreen and the climate knobs and things. These aren't necessarily bad things, mind you. In fact, these knobs feel fantastic with a nice little click to the function. But some of the Integra specifics, you've got different dash shape and materials. The upholstered dash panel here is quite nice. These seats are also unique to the Integra Type S in particular. They're very similar to the A-Spec Integra, but they've been given more aggressive bolsters. What's also nice compared with the Civic Type R is that they're power adjustable seats. That's also partly where some of the weight gain comes from. It's a very minor weight gain though. The Type S only weighs about 31 pounds more than a Civic Type R. And these seats are quite comfortable. The extra bolstering is very nice. It's quite padded and generally is not as aggressive as the Civic Type R. Depending on the buyer, that could be a good thing or a bad thing. If you're more serious about being on the track, you may like the Civic seats better. But if you're daily driving it, you're gonna appreciate the milder shape. This shifter is especially nice as well. We have just talked about it, but we really need to talk about it again because it's so good to run this through the gates. It's light, it's tight, It's just a joy to use, as are a lot of other things about this car. The steering, the wheel is not especially exciting, but the way it feels in the hands is so good. The feedback from the front wheels is superb. It's super accurate. It's a fantastic steering car. The whole chassis, it grips really well. And when we get to the drivetrain more, I can talk more about the limited slip differential that lets this thing just hook up in corners. But back to the interior, it's also quite spacious. There's no sunroof. So if you want that, you'll have to go with an Integra A-Spec or even a Civic Si. But the lack of that means that you've got a lot of headroom, and that's especially nice if you're going to wear a helmet and take this to a track day. We have talked a lot about the front. We should probably check out the back. So let's hop back there. Sitting in the back of the Integra Type S, got a decent amount of legroom. I've got this seat probably a little bit far back because I like to sit a little bit far back. The seat itself, it's fairly flat, actually rather low, but comfortable enough. Now, a drawback to the Integra's low fastback roofline is that it's not a huge amount of headroom for rear passengers. And one of the unusual features about both this and the Civic Type R is that instead of being a 5-seat vehicle, it is a 4-seat vehicle. For whatever reason, Honda has removed the center seat belt and put a permanent plastic cup holder in the middle. I genuinely could not tell you why, but that is the case in the Integra Type S. Still, despite the lack of headroom, it's a reasonably comfortable place, and you would easily be able to take yourself and a bunch of friends to whatever event you happen to have planned. And having looked at both the front and rear, why don't we take a look at the cargo area? So, popping open the hatchback, we come to what we mentioned a little earlier. It's a very high liftover, so that means that you're going to be doing a little bit more work getting your stuff in there and kind of leaning in to drop it in. On the plus side, you don't have to worry about anything sliding back out. Aside from that, the cargo area is, well, it's basically what you'll find in another Integra and fairly similar to a Civic. There's actually lots and lots of space, and being a hatchback, you get a little extra vertical space and a little bit more versatility for fitting large items in there, like with the seats down. Granted, again, because of the fastback roofline, you don't get quite as much vertical space as you might in a Civic. But either way, it's still extremely practical, and so in addition to carrying yourself and your friends, their stuff should fit just fine too. So under the hood of the Integra Type S is definitely the crowning jewel. It is the turbocharged 2.0 liter 4-cylinder engine that you get in the Civic Type R. It makes 320 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque, and it is excellent. It is so responsive and it is so powerful from like the mid-range on up. It's really easy to use. It's very rev happy. It's excellent, and it sounds fantastic, as you probably heard the exhaust a little bit ago. It is coupled to that 6-speed manual. It's super slick, and it's got a limited slip differential that really lets it put the power down. You can throttle it in corners, and it just hooks up and grabs. It is a blast. Under here is also where the front suspension is, and that is significantly revised from normal cars. It's the same as the Type R, and it significantly mitigates torque steer, and it's very noticeable. It's not gone completely. There's still a little bit of tugging early on, but for the most part, it's shocking what Honda has been able to do with this 320 horsepower engine in a front drive car. Something else that's really appreciated under the hood of this, and actually anything that's Civic based, is everything is really accessible. The hood opens really wide and can open really high. This is actually not the widest opening that this hood can be. And so whether you're doing regular maintenance or you're modifying it, it's easy to work in here. The engine bay is actually pretty attractive too. The engine cover is specific to Acura. It's got a metallic red finish and also kind of a faux carbon fiber look that even carries over to the intake manifold. So it's a practical engine bay with a stylish engine, and that engine packs incredible performance. It's a great powertrain in an all-around great car. That about wraps up our tour of the 2024 Acura Integra Type S. They're available now, and they're a little bit expensive. They start at just over $52,000. That is a lot of money, but you are getting a whole lot of car. A lot of car. We really like this. And if you'd like to know more, you should check out our first drive review on autoblog.com, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Comment down below what you think of this. Do you think you should get an Integra Type S, or should you get the Civic Type R? And thanks for watching Autoblog Garage.